Hey everyone, it's Mr. Hollywood, and today I will be reviewing the long-awaited sequel, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And I do have a lot of thoughts, and I cannot wait to share them in just a bit. Now, before I start sharing my review for this film, I just want to say, if you haven't seen this film, there's going to be some major spoilers. So, if you really want to see it, go see it before you watch this video. And let's begin. Now, let's start off of where this would be, this plot. So basically, it's a continuation of its predecessor, the original Shazam. And I'm just gonna tell you, that was a very brutal wait. And I literally had to wait 4 years after the original Shazam came out, and I love the original Shazam very much. And this film was really good. I'd argue to say this is top 3 DCEU behind the original Shazam and Justice League. Yeah, I just think it does a great job of continuing its predecessor. And I was actually really sketchy going in, because the reviews were very mixed. However, I still was holding out hope that this film was going to be amazing. And it definitely lived up to it. And this was definitely worth the wait. It has an interesting story where, basically Shazam doesn't know if he wants to be Shazam or if he just wants to have his family. And I think they tackled that really nicely. And our villain, which, I actually forget the villain's name, which maybe that's a problem, but the villain in this was actually really good. Now they're not as good as Dr. Shazam from the original Shazam. However, the villain is still really good in this, and it was an interesting story where events that had happened in the original Shazam had big meanings. So, for example, at the end of Shazam, when Shazam destroyed the staff, it mattered because then these 3 gods were able to take it and make the 7 deadly sins came back, and then Shazam had to be willing to put himself on the line. And it was interesting that they brought the original Shazam back, the guy that gave him his powers in the original. It was interesting how he survived, which, if you saw the film, you would know it actually makes perfect sense how he would have just vanished into prison instead dying. And it actually does make sense how he survived. And it was a really nice story where basically Shazam would always pick family first. And I think that was really important. And this film is definitely not as funny as the original Shazam, but it's definitely more heartfelt than the original Shazam. And I think it balances it out really nicely. Now, so we're basically Shazam, like I said, I feel like the only, problem with this film is that, Shazam, I feel should have been Billy Batson more. I feel he should have been. I feel he was Shazam way too much. He was still great. Because I wish they would, have him be Billy Batson a little more. But that's kind of just a minor complaint. But, anyway, Billy having his own family. And, basically, he feels he loses hope. However, his siblings, are the ones that lift him up. And I think, his siblings, when they're all Shazam, I think they have great on-screen chemistry, the siblings. And, how he feels like he might not want to be Shazam anymore, and he doesn't feel worthy. And then, with his siblings, where Freddy wants to go to school, then he falls in love with this girl, who turns out that she isn't who she looks like, where basically she's the sister of those gods, and she's, feels pressured by her sisters. I think that was also a very interesting storyline. And, the acting in this, I think, is definitely better than the original. And, I can tell you, this film cements Zachary Levi as a legendary actor as like Shazam. Like if you ask me what are some of the best casting decisions in superhero, I'd probably go with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, Christopher Reeve as Superman, Zachary Levi as Shazam, and maybe Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. If you had to ask me like some of the best superhero casting, but yeah, like Zachary Levi was owns this role, quite frankly, and I feel like when basically Freddy goes to prison with the god from the first one, and how the person who he falls in love with at school, basically she has a choice. Does she want to impress her sisters, God's sisters, or does she want to be herself and let the people and let Freddy escape? Basically, this also has an important message of, do you want to be yourself? Like, you should always be yourself. And, I think it tackles it really well. Now, the final battle in this, where basically, like, there's people destroying buildings, and Shazam has to, like, be willing to sacrifice himself. The final battle was great in this, and, a lot of people say the final battle was the worst part. I think the final hour, just the final battle in this was great. Where basically Shazam, basically he wanted to save all of his family, and he feels like he owes it, and he feels like he needs to be willing to die to let his family live. And this movie almost made me tear up. So basically Shazam almost died. So basically, and if you saw the movie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They made you think he was gonna die. And, if a movie was actually powerful enough to do that, like make us think our favorite character is gonna die, I mean, they had stakes in this. There was cost. And then when the villain decided that, you know what, I'm going to be willing to die to make things right. Or basically, they had to destroy the 7 deadly sins. And basically, there was costs. And basically, she wanted to let her younger sisters live. And then when Shazam almost died, helping the second sister, I mean, it was powerful. And then the final 10 minutes, my God, when basically Shazam basically collapsed, and then they had a funeral, I honestly thought they were gonna kill off Shazam. I was literally like, there's no way they would actually kill off Shazam, and they made us think that they will, and you know what, props, because I don't know how I could have handled it. And then one of the best scenes where Wonder Woman steps in and basically saves it, uses her powers to save Shazam. And, it was powerful, when Shazam survived it. I mean, that was bittersweet. And, my thoughts on this, usually I would have a slight problem with this, because, there's other movies where that's happened. However, because, there's DC's getting rebooted, and there's also a little more to tell with Shazam's story. Also, he's a god. Usually I would have a little bit of a problem, but considering, I think there's still more stories to tell, and James Gunn's gonna probably keep him for the reboot. I'm all fine with that. So, I mean, it was a very satisfying ending. Now, the post-credit scene was sick. So basically, Shazam got joined as someone who was with the Justice Society. That was a pretty cool ending that I feel could go somewhere even with James Gunn's DC reboot. And then the second post-credit scene was powerful. So Thaddeus Savannah came back, the villain from the original, in prison. He was set 2 years later, and he basically, the Caterpillar basically left him, and I feel like there's I feel like he's gonna break out of prison, and I feel because James Gunn announced that he's still gonna have some stuff a little bit unrelated from his universe. I feel like this is a storyline they can continue, because I actually think this has the potential to go forward. So this movie is great. This movie was everything I wanted from a Shazam movie, and it definitely lived up to it. So my score for this, honestly, I'd give this a 9.5 out of 10. I love this film, great story, and yeah, I honestly love this film. And also, like, you might remember my DC versus Marvel video from last year, where I thought there was no way that DC was going to outdo Marvel this year. I'm going to tell you, they're actually on track to blow Marvel out of the water. Because this is definitely better than Ant-Man and Wasp: Quantumania from last month. So yeah, so those were my thoughts on Shazam! Fury of Gods. I don't like it as much as its predecessor, but, I still love this film, and, that both Shazam films are great, and Shazam was a character I was never thought they were ever gonna have him be like one of our best, and he's definitely top 3 DC superheroes. I love this character, and yeah, so that's my review. Thanks for watching, and I do have some stuff upcoming these next few months, and I hope you guys enjoy. Now, thanks for watching, and peace out.